Hey, everybody, welcome to the Scott Mann Podcast. We're on the road in Franklin, Tennessee, and I have to tell you, I'm super excited about this episode because I get to sit down with a very, very dear friend, Mr. David Corlew. Now, David grew up not far from here on the streets of Nashville, and he grew up in the 60s and 70s at a much different time in this city, and he grew up rough, man. And what you're going to hear is David's story of how he evolved through that, somehow miraculously landed not only in the music industry, but also became acquainted with a country singer. You might have heard of him, Charlie Daniels, who one of the greatest, most iconic country music artists in modern history, really an icon and pioneer of the Southern rock movement that just took the country by storm in the 70s. But David not only became acquainted with him, but, went on the road with him and eventually became Charlie's tour manager and then his business manager, best pal. And together they also co-founded a nonprofit, the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project, that is just phenomenal, still doing amazing work. In fact, that's how David and I met. So this interview is going to cover so much. But once again, pay attention to the through lines: human connection, storytelling, struggle, leaving tracks. Can't wait to get to it. I'll see you on the other side. Welcome to the Scott Mann Podcast, where we connect like our lives depend on it. Well, David, thanks for being here, buddy.
It's my honor.
It was a bit of a journey for you to get here, more ways than one, which...
not as far as I have been. But,
yeah. But we'll talk about that and what you had to do to get here and what made it a bit of a challenge. But anyway, I'm really glad you're here on the Scott Mann Podcast. Been wanting to do this for a long time. I do want to start out with a little bit of a gift. It's not much, but it's just something that
thank you,
put together for you there. And if you want, you can go ahead and open it now. Absolutely, because we'll kind of tell you what's in there. Little last out card there, but there's a wallet, handmade wallet in that gravel drive bag that is. I'll leave it reach around because I like to show off his work.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
This is actually from my buddy Matt Williams, and he makes these handmade wallets.
I love that.
Really
Beautiful.
Just efficient.
Well, cowboys love leather.
100%, and exactly, and we knew you would love that one. So anyway, that's from Matt, and he's our executive producer. There's a bullet pen in there, one of Junior's bullet pens that you use to sign the book. Gold Star Dad Jeff Falkel builds those. And then lastly, and I thought you might enjoy this because of the work that you and I have done and the support you've given us on the play Last Out, but also hopefully on some work we're going to do in the future with my new play. There's a script in there that's the actual bound version of Last Out.
Oh, great.
We had it turned into a book, and it's the version that you saw here in Franklin.
Okay.
But we went ahead. We had so many people asking about the script and everything just as a read. We had it turned into a book. So it's just a small token to say thank you for everything you've done for not just our nonprofit work, but the play and frankly, the Special Forces community and veterans everywhere.
Well, I'm honored, flattered to be here. The journey in itself, to be able to get to a point to where I can help veterans and support. That's what I do. I support certainly veterans, but I want to support other causes. That's what the Journey Home Project was designed for.
And we're going to actually I'll take that from you, set it out of the way here, and we'll get on the way out. But I wanted to start with, you
Can I do something first? I was going to, you told me to bring, somebody said to bring a trinket.
Yep. And that's going to go on the Wall of Honor.
Okay. So I could have brought things that are certainly more valuable.
Right.
I looked through a lot of stuff. I wanted to bring a feather. Hawk feathers are big for me spiritually.
Nice. Yeah.
But I found this. This is a dog tag that was made on Charlie's first trip.
Oh, wow.
Into Iraq, 2005, Southwest Asia. April of 2005.
Oh my gosh.
And I thought that would be at least nice to hang on that wall that represents so many in so many walks of life.
Oh my God, I'm just so moved by this. So,
as the play represents so many walks of life.
It does. And the fact that in all that you made happen for Charlie Daniels to get over to Southwest Asia, I know that was you and I've talked about, that was a very transformational trip for you.
You bet.
As well. So I will make sure that I hang this in a place of honor on the wall of honor. Thank you, my friend.
I know Charlie would be honored to
Well,
have it
I'm going to feel like I have him with me, when we do these interviews, and that means a lot, man. Thank you so much. I'm going to set it right here. I thought when you and I had breakfast the last time I was in town, you and Monty and me went to breakfast, and you just told me about growing up and your backstory. I was fascinated. I mean, where you evolved to in your journey, your work with Charlie Daniels, but also just in the industry and then in the advocacy space. That's what I think a lot of people see, right? That's the public facing part that people see. But I just think there's a lot of folks that don't know what you had to, the miles you had to run to get there. Yeah. And one of the things that I was just fascinated with was your early years and what life was like for you growing up. And I just wonder, would you mind talking a little bit about that? Because I just think it helps us get such a perspective of where you ended up.
No, I don't mind talking about it. It's freeing to talk about, and we always want to go through life and hopefully that we can, maybe if we can touch one person. Yeah. And in my growing up, I have a lot of targets, a lot of people that I can hopefully reach out to, and that is I grew up in a lower middle class family, maybe a little bit lower than middle class family, but it was grew up basically on the streets, and I think my mom and dad had to wean us pretty early. They knew they had a big bunch of us. It was 7 kids, parents and a grandparent, in a 5-room house. So obviously that was a tough deal. But
and where was this?
This was in Nashville. I grew up on the streets of Nashville. I'm an urban kid, and I think throughout my life, as I've gotten older, I've realized that every sector of my life, every part of my life, was all designed to get me to where I can sit and talk to Scott Mann.
Isn't that crazy?
But on the streets, sold papers, wanted to get out of the hood, wanted to get out of the neighborhood, and grew up probably humbled as a kid. If there's a program, and a lot of the 12-step programs, it's one called the Family of Origin, and you can almost put a mat over it, and there's the one kid that's the caretaker, there's one kid that's the comedian, and then there's the one kid that's supposed to just stay out of the way, and I was that kid, and went through life looking for my place in the early stages, and ultimately the first deal I fell into that created the development was as far as my life was boxing, Golden Gloves, and had a family, a couple of friends that invited me to go to a training night, and went and fell in love with it, of course. And the good side, it brought me out of whatever I was into on the streets, and gave me a purpose, which we all need, and that comes in different stages. Yeah. And but it also taught me something that wasn't positive, and that was that the way I could get attention was to hurt somebody. Yeah. So we, as you well know, all the way through life, we get imprinted. Yeah. With those things that work both good and bad.
And you were in and out of rough spots as a kid, a lot of fighting.
Yep.
Particularly as you gained those skill sets with boxing, right?
Yeah, I was, and it took me. I think it continued to take me to a darker place, not a better place, but a darker place, and ultimately, and and I say this, I wanted to serve and had wanted to join the military, but that bad behavior kept me from that. And I don't know how deep we want to go into that, but obviously I was a felon at an early age.
Yeah.
And at that time, the military wasn't taking felons.
Right. And
so that caused me to lose track of where I thought I would be headed.
You know, I work with so many people in my own journey in recovery. You know, there's always those origin stories of the dark part of it, the valleys. You know, you look back on it. I look back on mine. I'm like, I don't know how I made it out of that. I honestly don't know how I'm alive today. When you look back on that period of your life, what was a day in the life like when you were going through that place, and what did it kind of feel like for you at that point in your life when you're a young guy, you're looking at the rest of your life? I mean, did you have a vision for something, or were you just trying to survive? Or
I don't know if it would be called a vision. I was looking for my place.
Yeah.
I did know with 7 kids
right.
in a big house like that, you're always maneuvering to find your place where someone will pay attention to you.
Yeah.
And in my case, it was that I found attention by either hurting someone or doing the wrong thing.
Right.
So that was a day in the life for me. Was that? I mean, there were a lot of good parts to it. I mean, I sold papers on the streets of Nashville, and again, with the years that I have behind me, I'm able to look back and see every one of those steps, even though they were negative, were building blocks for me to get to a point where I am in life now, which I'm okay with. Yeah, man.
And can you kind of walk us through the chronology of, your time as a kid? Okay, so we talked about that, young man. What happens next in your life as you're kind of, living life on the streets?
So I go through that. I'm on the streets, end up, because of my skills of being able to handle myself, and I get a job in a nightclub, working the door. I don't like the term bouncer. I'm really not big enough to bounce anybody, but obviously was able to handle myself. So ended up being in the nightclub circuit and that kind of thing. And
what time period was this, David?
This is in 70,
okay,
69, 68,
What was
69.
the Nashville scene like, in the nightclub scene in the late 60s, early 70s? Paint a picture for us.
It was... There's 2 sides to that picture. It's back in those days, Charlie, which I later ended up being a part of, but he called them skull orchards, but they were just dance bars. Yeah. They were dance bars where 7 and 7 was popular, and and it was just the old dance band and club scene, and it was pretty rowdy, especially in Nashville. Nashville was a pretty rough place.
It was kind of a different town then, wasn't it?
Oh, it was way different. All the area downtown that we know now is the Bachelorette center of
Nash Vegas.
Nash Vegas. That was all kind of a downtrodden neighborhood. Those were all just rough bars and just novelty shops and things like that. But, came through that and ended up just kind of job to job. And ultimately, I think there's where a lot of folks end up without an education. I quit high school in 10th grade.
Yeah.
Ended up in construction business and ended up on a track drill, which I was shooting dynamite. And drilling the holes in the rock, blowing the dynamite out, and building roads. And it was wintertime, and I want to have the dates right. I want to say it was probably 1970, around that era. And it was wintertime. It was really cold in Nashville. 1970 was a cold winter, and wanted a job inside. And looked in the newspaper. That's where you got your jobs in those days.
Yeah.
Looked in the newspaper and found a job opening for a record store clerk. and I cared nothing about music, cared nothing about records.
Really?
Nothing.
Okay.
I had no interest in it whatsoever. And, but I knew it would be a warm building. And I took that job.
Okay.
Maybe one of the most pivotal moves.
I was going to ask, was that a pivotal moment in your life?
Yeah, it was a life-changing, forever changing, that still goes on today.
How so?
It took me into a world that I didn't, like I said, wasn't pursuing, wasn't a musician. There were no musicians in my family. And, but I learned to be able to work with people. I learned to communicate. I built my communication skills.
Yeah.
And what I consider now is, that's what I do now. I'm a carny now. I'm out selling my wares. I'm trying to raise money for soldiers.
That. I mean, but you're one of the best communicators I've ever met. Like your authenticity, the way you value relationships. I mean, and you bring such integrity to it.
Yeah, well,
you always have. And I think that's, but so is that where that was born? Is that where you found that skill set?
Yeah, it's where I found it. I was very shy in school. I was very shy.
Okay.
I always said that even in when I was boxing, I was scared to death. But it was that fear.
Yeah, survival, right?
Yeah, and that's what the whole deal was with me getting that job. And all of a sudden I was in a different world. And that was a culture of the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
I look back on it now, and we look and see what's going on in the world today with the protests and things like that. The protest then was certainly the Vietnam War.
Right.
I had no desire to protest the war. A lot of my friends had gone and died, which gave me a certain sense of guilt for not serving.
Right.
But again, as God asks us, not ask us, but gives us, it's those defects that give us what we have.
It's the most amazing
today.
thing how our struggles end up becoming our greatest gift.
It's our greatest gift. Yeah. And now I'm standing on one leg of that. So it's our greatest gift. And obviously at the time I didn't have a faith, so I wasn't able to look into that and try to find and that's what I've done in my journey recently with my injury, is to look into it and figure out what is the lesson here? What did I learn? How can I grow?
My wife does that. Monty does that better than anybody I know. Like, she always finds the lesson in it. I struggle with that.
Well, no, maybe not. I challenge you in that, because in your struggles, in your hardship, you have been able to take all that you went through as a Green Beret and all that you saw and all that you dealt with. And now it's flipped, and now
I'm getting there.
It's a journey for all of us,
for sure.
You know.
Well, when you took the job in the record, was it a record store?
Yeah, it was. Well, it was in that era of time. It was the Haight-Ashbury of Nashville. You know, there were 5 campuses within walking distance of the record store. Okay. So it was the peace movement. So we sold pipes and rolling papers and bell bottoms and music.
And you were immersed in an environment where you had to interface, you had to engage people. But did you know, like, how did the music bug infect you?
Well, the music is what I gravitated to, because I certainly didn't gravitate to the peace movement.
Ideology.
That was a safe place for me. I could stay in that part of the store and listen to music, which some of it had the content of a peace movement.
Right.
But it was a place for me, and again, as a true Southerner, I certainly, and I still do every day, I gravitated to the Almond Brothers, a white lower middle class band that became historical.
Yeah.
But they were lower middle class kids that were raised on blues and all the music that was born out of the South.
Yeah.
And that was one thing that I was very proud of was being Southern, not in the ways that we look at it in a negative way, but being from the South and being proud.
There's a lot of positive attributes to that culture as well. So when you that was in around 70. And then I think you met Charlie Daniels around 73.
No, I met him in that time period because we were in Hillsboro Village was right close to Music Row.
And what was Hillsboro Village?
Hillsboro Village was an area that was surrounded by Vanderbilt, Belmont, all these universities.
Gotcha.
And of course, that movement, that peace movement, came out of universities and the kids.
Yeah.
And so we were in the center of that.
Okay.
So every day it was certainly a culture of long hairs and that lifestyle. But being close to Music Row, which was the origin and the basis for all country music, we had all these artists that would come in to buy music, to buy records.
Okay.
And everybody came in. I met Chris Christopherson and I met Johnny Cash, and it was the cool place to go for artists.
Yeah.
It was the hip and trendy place to go. So
what was that like, meeting those guys? I mean, at that point in your life, that point in their life, I mean, that had to almost be electric, some of these guys.
Well, it was for a lot of people. I mean, it went from Johnny Cash, but the reason why I met Charlie is because I met the road manager from the Lovin' Spoonful, which was a very 60s band.
Yeah.
And the Youngbloods, which was a California peace, love and happiness kind of band. And they came in and we chatted, and they said, we're in Nashville, we're making a record, we want to go out on the town. And so I said, come with me, because I knew all the clubs because I'd worked in them.
Yeah.
And so I took them out. We stayed out, of course, all night. And the next morning, Jerry Corbett, who was one of the members of the Youngbloods, a San Francisco band, and he said, I'm doing a record on a guy named Charlie Daniels, and I would like for you, why don't you go to the studio with me? So I went to the studio, and that was my first meeting with Charlie.
And how did that go?
It went good. Charlie was preoccupied. He was putting... it was uneventful.
Now, he's pretty young at this point. I mean, he's
probably in his late 30s.
Okay. And was he, how would you characterize, was he established at this point? Or
no? Well, he was. No, he wasn't really. He was in the process of. He had come to town with a gentleman by the name of Bob Johnson, who ended up producing Nashville Skyline, produced 4 or 5 Bob Dylan records, produced Simon and Garfunkel, Marty Robbins. He was the guy that talked Johnny Cash talked New York, CBS at the time, and for Johnny Cash, he came up with the crazy idea of doing an album in a prison.
Yeah.
And which became Folsom Prison Blues. Wow. And so this guy was a very creative, innovative guy.
Right.
And Charlie had worked with him. And so during that time period between 70 and 72, Charlie wrote a song called Uneasy Rider, which was a story song about a hippie driving across the country, going to L.A., and it was all based on a story. It was based on his experience with all the San Francisco bands, with the Grateful Dead and with all those bands.
Yeah.
And they were going to do a pop festival in Mississippi.
Okay.
And what happened was that they were all going to Mississippi for a big pop festival, and they were all scared to death to go to the South because of the movie Easy Rider.
Mm.
They were all scared to death, so he comes up with this parody on long hairs, and he has a hit record, and that's the record that gave me my job.
Talk about that.
He had a hit record. Of course, the record label wanted him to go on the road, put a band together, and promote the record. He did that. Probably 5, 6 months, 8 months into it. Now I know. As time has passed, the kid that was setting up the equipment and stuff for that original tour had quit. And he asked me, he said, I've got a I've got a job opening when I would interact with him in the record store. He said, you know anybody that wants to go on the road? And I said, on the road where? And he said, everywhere, the world. And I go, I'm in. And it was $50 a week and $5 a day per diem.
And what was that? What was a day in the life like for David Corlew?
I knew nothing about electronics. I knew nothing about anything.
Details.
He laid it out. Laid it out. Said, plug this here, plug that there, set it up, drive 400 miles, do it again. And I learned by...
How long did it take you to figure all that out?
Not long.
Yeah.
Not long.
Quick study.
It was pretty simple stuff.
And did you love it?
Loved every minute of it. It's when I fell in love with the music business. I loved it not only from the aspect of seeing a different place, because I'd never been anywhere, never traveled anywhere, but the aspect of being in a different city every night, the lifestyle itself. It was, and now that I look back on it, it's a little bit of an escape. I get to leave that life at home, the life I grew up with in a rough neighborhood.
And nobody really cared, right? Like, so you were able to show up in these new places. Nobody cared where you were from, where you grew up.
Nah.
They just, it was just all about the music and the experience.
It was the music, the experience. And again, I really do believe, and as we touched on earlier, I was able to sharpen my skills of being able to communicate. I mean, God, the first time I went to New York, went to Long Island. We played a little bar out in Long Island, and I'm from the South. I go up north, and everybody's hollering at each other and cussing, and I take it personal. Somebody's hollering at me. I want to fight them. Yeah. And Charlie says, "Calm down, son." I said, "That's just that's how they live here." And so I learned to adapt. The adaptation, learning to communicate, learning to adapt to when the equipment doesn't work, when the people that you're working for don't like you or don't want to pay you. Some of my skills came in. I used to collect maybe our last $100 out of the Coke machine or whatever I could find, vending machine in that club. If they didn't pay, I'd get me a crowbar and I'd get the rest. I'd get whatever money I could before we left.
You reckon every band had a David Corlew in there to?
No, I don't think so. I think a lot of them were still involved with the peace movement. I was just a long-haired guy that was a big redneck from the South. So,
yeah. Okay. Well, so did you did you gravitate also to? I mean, did you know that the music industry was for you at that point? Did you feel kind of like you were home, like this was what you were cut out to do, or did that come over time?
No, I think what as maybe I mentioned earlier, I felt like I was a part of something.
Yeah,
and it was. And we all talk about it. The brotherhood of the Almond Brothers was very influential in so many bands today. But being a part of something bigger than you, which obviously you know that very well, certainly wasn't the military, and my life wasn't on the line. Maybe some nights it was, but being a part of something that's cohesive.
Yeah, my
family wasn't cohesive.
Yeah.
We were a wild bunch. And so I really think the human instinct, the human psyche of wanting to be a part of something and be a part of a tribe, a herd, and all of those things have fallen into my life. I love horses. I spent a lot of time with horses. Cowboy, I ended up cowboying for a while. And I think that's all, if you roll it all up in a little nice package, it's that wanting to be needed. We all want to be loved. It's all the gifts that God has given us.
I have a friend, Dr. Ivan Tyrrell. I talk about him in my book, Nobody's Coming to Save You, and he lives over in the UK, and he's written or he's developed a kind of a framework in the mental health world, but it's making its way into other things. He calls it the human givens, but it's these innate drivers that we all have within us, regardless of language or race or religion, and these are the things just deep within us, the innate emotional needs, physiological needs, things like you just said, for attention, to be relevant, to have autonomy, to be connected, right? And these aren't optional things. These are things that drive us and drive our behavior. And if it's not met, we're going to go get it met, probably in unhealthy ways. What were the venues like when you guys were playing these in the beginning?
Well, the venues, the scenario that I would create, they were bars for the most part, is where we worked, and so again, like I said earlier, there are places where maybe if you didn't sell tickets or if they didn't sell enough drinks that night, they didn't want to pay you, so it was that constant drive of fighting, but it was, and not physically as much as emotionally of, for instance, Charlie, when we started, we were running on his MasterCard, which at the time, this is in the 70s. So a MasterCard, I think he had a $500 limit. And then on top of that, MasterCard, you couldn't verify it after 6 o'clock in the afternoon or 8 o'clock, whatever the time frame was. So obviously we were always overdrawn on his credit card. So we used to sit in the hotel after we finished with the gig. We would go to the hotel, make sure that we got back after midnight so they couldn't check the credit card, and we would check out before they took our credit card away. So again, those survival instincts of learning how to operate, to maneuver through hard times.
What was Charlie like back then?
Charlie was a young man then.
Yeah.
So obviously he had come up, and again, I think the thread that runs through what we call the Southern rock culture.
Yeah.
And Charlie always said it wasn't it's not a genre of music. It was a lifestyle of lower middle class, that survival thing.
Yeah.
And so Charlie was one of us. I mean, we partied hard. Yeah. Everything we did in extreme. We played hard. The music, he worked really, really hard. He was obsessed with playing. He loved playing music. Charlie was one of those kids, he tells in his book where he knew 2 chords on a guitar when he was like 12 or 13 years old. There was a guy named Russell Palmer who was his friend, who his parents bought him a guitar from Western Auto. If you can imagine, Western Auto changed oil in your cars. They sold hardware, tools, but they also had musical instruments. And Charlie, his friend, got a guitar, and his friend taught him the 3rd chord. And you have to have 3 chords to write a song. And he was so driven, it was literally, he snatched the guitar out of Russell Palmer's hand and didn't want to give it back. He wanted, and that was how his life. So you find, as we do, as you guys did in the military, you find these people, these friends, these brothers in arms, brothers in life, and you find these parallels, and all of a sudden that movement becomes bigger and bigger. So that drive to do better music, we were all on the same page.
Yeah, driven.
Driven.
Did you, at what point did you start to think, okay, wow, this is going somewhere? Like, I mean, I'm sure it was a slow burn, but was there a point where? Yeah,
it was a point, because what happens is you get out of those clubs and they start adding you to shows where you might sell some tickets.
Okay.
And so obviously it was a natural, we gravitated towards Marshall Tucker Band, Leonard Skinner Band, the Almond Brothers Band. And so here again, now you've gone from little pieces of bands running around the South to now there's a movement. There's us, the Almonds, and the bands that I named. And now
there's an identity.
There's an identity. We're the Southern rock movement, and it was forceful, and it was popular, and it was huge. And so that,
sure as hell was.
You see it manifest.
Yeah.
It manifests within ourselves, as well as the music and the band and the success. But what also manifests is the lifestyle.
Yeah.
Which is not so good sometimes.
I want to get into that. Before we do, can you talk a little bit more about your role? Because you started out, like you said, basic tasks, setting up gear, driving the vehicle. But I'm sure as Charlie's confidence in you grew, as you all had more shared experiences together, and as you met success, I guess, your role changed. Can you talk about that?
I can, and I want to say this: in no way throughout this conversation will I ever compare myself to a soldier, but there's parallels within the lifestyle that are the same. And so I started out as just a grunt. I was just setting up equipment, fighting for our last $20, fixing flat tires. But then as I was in a venue all day long, I started looking at the lighting. I looked at the sound. I started learning things. So you, like you do in the military, you grow in that time span. You start to build. And so I was a lighting director, and then one day I became the road manager. I was in charge of everybody. We had hired a couple of extra guys and band members, and then I became, because I was collecting the money. Yeah. And that wasn't always so easy. So I become an accountant. I learned to be able to count money. I learned to count deadwood, which is tickets that didn't sell. I learned numbers. I learned to, it just continued to grow. I continued to educate myself like you do in the military. You keep training and you train and you train till you mess around, and then I became the tour manager in 1979. We had 56 people on the road. We had 4 buses, 4 tractor trailer rigs. That's not unique now, but in 1978, 79, that was pretty dang unique.
I just want to point out that the magnitude of that tour that you just described in 79, you managed to evolve from a guy working in a record store that met Charlie Daniels on a whim, got asked to come on the road and help set up gear. In 6 years, you're managing the whole tour.
Yeah.
And how much of that would you attribute to just relationships and human connection and those skills that you talked about?
I think that the gift that came out, that God gave me, that was buried somewhere deep in me, was the ability to maybe lead.
Okay.
Not in comparison to leadership and other things, but I think I would gain respect. That's what we do in life.
Yeah.
We have a work area. We by our behavior, by our work skills, our trade craft, people start looking to you to what are we going to do next?
Yeah.
And so again, I do believe that they're all gifts that God implanted in us, and then it's up to us to move through life.
Use them or not.
Use them or not.
Well, so you alluded to the lifestyle. I think it's important that we talk about that a bit, because one of the things that you and I have had conversations about was, I know for me, I loved Special Forces. I loved everything about it. There was a lifestyle that went with it and still goes with it that not everyone subscribes to in Special Forces, the same way not everyone subscribes to that lifestyle in music, but it is pervasive, and it certainly had its way with me for a period of time. Talk about the lifestyle of the Southern rock movement and how it affected you and Charlie and just generally the overall experience.
Well, it's showbiz. Yeah. It's showbiz, and I would obviously with success, with popularity comes financial success. What happens to and I don't mean to continue to use the term, but what happens to a lower middle class kid that has been living off $5 a day per diem, and then all of a sudden we're eating in the nicest restaurants, we're staying in the nicest hotels. If you're not prepared to grasp that and deal with it, success in general, what happens? We usually, by human nature, misuse it.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. I think that's what happens for me. I don't want to, not the teller of all bad habits, but for me, I'm sorry, you took me off 3448 Woodrow Avenue in downtown Nashville. I was selling papers, making, I think, a nickel a paper. And then you put me in the, Waldorf Astoria in New York with room service, and and you've got women, you've got the lifestyle, you've got everybody loves you.
Yeah.
And what that does is it translates to me that I've made it and I'm important and now somebody loves me. And we all know that. And I don't want to get into the mushy part of it, but it's about, wow, now I'm really something. People do love me.
And and do you start to believe your own press at that point?
Exactly.
That's what my dad says, the most dangerous thing we can do.
You start believing your own press, and you really are you're mesmerized by the attention you're getting.
Yeah.
So it's all simple things.
Right.
Take a kid that has never had any attention. I was in that platelet that we talked about earlier, and now everybody loves me because I'm running the show.
Right.
And everybody wants to get to me, and so that brought on what I call I can pile it all up. It's just all bad behavior.
Yeah.
There's a term, the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It's the lifestyle is based on that. I think that's one of the wonderful things that in the music business today is that now it's become such big business that a lot of that's not allowed. It's just off limits. And later on, as Charlie's life changed, because he was more of an adult, he was an adult when we were still of youth.
Is that because of the just relentless pursuit of the art that you described, that he had such a passion for it that at some point he had to make a decision? Or, I mean, is there anything that you can attribute that to? Because I've seen a lot of artists who it takes them down, or at least, it has in the past, but yet he didn't. I mean, he found a way through.
Well, the 12-step program says it'll, some of us will follow it to the gates of hell.
To the very end,
to the very end. And so I think for Charlie now, and this is his words, not mine. But we were obviously, as it gets bigger business, he was more mature. So I think he looked at it in a different way. But there was a point in time when Devil Went Down to Georgia had come out, and there was just money pouring in, and he got involved in businesses, and he found himself in some struggles later on in his career. And without getting into that, Charlie's business, but what he always told me, the changing point in his life was he had bought a ranch, he had bought some property, we were fencing it, and of course, we were out there doing the work ourselves, and he caught his arm in a 3-point auger, a post hole digger. And then I was on the tractor. It literally wrapped him up. It crushed his arm, his bow arm for his fiddle. And later on, he told me, he said, that was that point in time when I asked God, if you will save me from this, I'll change my life. And he did.
One of those pivotal moments.
It was that pivotal moment.
But I've got so many questions, but you're still,
and I apologize if I bog you down in some of these stories.
No. I just think it's such a rich story, and there's so much in it. It's also a universal story that I think a lot of us have experienced some version of it. But drinking, drugging, womanizing for you at this point, probably pretty hard, I guess, with the crew.
All the above.
Yep.
All the above.
And how's that affecting you? I mean, are you able to do your job? Is it affecting you emotionally, mentally? Like, what's starting to happen to you?
Well, it's what happens to all of us. And in no way do I consider myself a smart man.
Sure.
But I had the unique ability. It's one of those great talents that can either work for you or work against you. Yeah. And always it seems that those things work against you first in order for you to implement them to work for you in a good way. Yeah. Was to departmentalize. I was able to keep this behavior here. Okay. I always showed up. I was always on time. I might not have been in good shape to do the job, but I was there. We ran. You got to remember, Charlie's a guy that grew up during World War II. This guy, we ran on railroad time. Wasn't a digital time. It wasn't some clock somewhere. It was railroad time. And
talk about what that means.
That means that if trains at that point in time didn't run on time, there were catastrophes.
Collisions.
And
so it was life or death mindset.
Yeah, and life or death mindset. And if you were on time, you were 15 minutes late. So we had all the tools for discipline and everything, but and that stayed there. We always showed up. We never missed days.
Now, were you cowboying at this time?
What cowboying was for me is what happened when I got into my late teens. Right before I went to work for Charlie, my older brother married a woman that was very much a horsewoman and was in the horse business. And so obviously I was only making $500 or $600 a month. So on my off days, I would go clean stalls, and it's where I learned. I was a city kid, but I learned to ride. I started learning to rope, and I started to learn the trade craft of cowboying.
It's just so astounding to me to look at you now, sporting that shattered ankle from a bull and all the cowboying you've done in your life, to think that you were a city kid growing up.
Yeah. And then obviously I grew up in the great era of the Cowboy with Roy Rogers.
Absolutely.
And the movie star Cowboys.
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to those basic things of God. I want to be that, take me from this world I'm in. I want to live in that world.
And I do, because I feel like maybe in some ways that it is a release for you, that part of that world. And I want to explore that, but I want to bring home, how did it come to a head, if you don't mind my asking? How did it come to a head with the lifestyle and Charlie and you? I mean, because it usually always does. Like, how did that finally come to
You're
pass?
talking about in a negative way?
Yeah. Like, what was the turning point?
Well, obviously, Charlie began to after his accident, and after again him being older, he was maturing faster.
Yeah.
He had a lot more on the line.
Yeah.
Some of us were still. There were a lot of the crew. You're talking about 25 at any given tour.
Yeah.
There were 25 to 50 people that were all together. So that's a mixed match of a lot of different thoughts, ages, behaviors. And so Charlie rose above that, and he was older. He matured faster. He had responsibility. You got to remember, all of this going on financially was resting on his shoulders. Yeah. So life forced him into becoming, as what happens to most of us, we grow up.
Yeah.
And we realize we have responsibility. And so he grew up faster. And as he grew up and matured, and he started cleaning the house on bad behavior. And so that was a turning point for the musical part of my life.
Right.
And so things began to become more business-like, more money on the line, more commitment, more responsibilities. So you stayed with us, or you changed, or you didn't.
Yeah.
For me, I transitioned off the road. I didn't walk away from that. I got a bigger job. I become Charlie's personal manager, which I oversaw all the businesses, record label businesses, booking agency business, the financial aspect of it.
You had to grow up.
I had to grow up, and but I didn't become responsible so quick.
Yeah. You just hit it better.
Some of the skills that I had developed, that I use today in a positive way, I used in a manipulation, negotiating. Then it becomes a game.
Yeah, gotcha.
So not happened with a Green Beret. Now you're tracking an enemy, you're fighting, then you become, how can I maneuver? How can I be?
And you can lose yourself in that.
And I did. Oh God, I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really thought a lot of myself.
I hear you. Something that you and I share is our journey in recovery. Yep. And I know for me, without getting into it too deep, I mean, for me, it was me, falling to my knees in a jungle, just in tears, like everything in my life falling apart. Monty packing the car, about to leave with the boys. I mean, I was losing everything. And, it was kind of like that promise, Charlie. It wasn't kind of like it. It was just like it. I made that same promise in that moment, and, but for me, you know, the journey through recovery has given me more things in my life than I ever expected on how to navigate the world. And it's kind of like you said, I wouldn't have any of the things if I hadn't gone through all that crap. Did you find that to be the case for you as well? With like, what has recovery been like for you?
We all have our jungle.
Yeah.
You know, we've all had the defining moment or time period. As I went into life, scratching and screaming and fighting, I fought recovery also. Again, that skill that was mismanaged, that being able to departmentalize it. It's the easy term. They teach you in recovery. You want your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
So it didn't work so well for me. And so, but I finally hit the wall.
Yeah.
But, you know, as they say in the cavalry, when the horse is dead, dismount, you know, put the shovel down, quit digging, you know, there became a point.
Yeah.
It took me a while. It took me a while to accept that I was finished.
Yeah.
And like you said, it was that point of finding all your stuff packed up in a car.
Yeah.
Or saying you're not wanted here.
A level of surrender that is almost unfathomable and almost indescribable.
We spend our whole life wanting to be wanted and loved.
Yeah.
And then there becomes a day when you realize that you're not wanted and loved.
Yeah.
That your game ain't happening no more.
That's right. And it's a rebranding, it's a rebirthing in many ways. At least it was for me.
You realize it's not a game anymore.
Yeah, the scales fall away, man. That's right. The stakes are fully revealed.
Yeah.
in all their splendor.
We're not. So my journey was a hard one. And I tell my buddies, as you know, I have a lot of Green Beret buddies. I have. I think I have buddies that worked in admin in the military that I have as high a regard for them 100%. As I do the famous warriors that we have in our culture.
Before we talk about you and Charlie founding the amazing organization that you lead now, what is one thing that you would want people, because, you know, Charlie's not with us anymore. He changed the world in so many ways. But what would you want people to know? Like, what's the one thing that you would want, like my boys who didn't grow up with him, they've heard me listen to him, but like, what would you want someone to know about Charlie Daniels 20 years from now?
That he was human. I think that the challenge that we have for our kids today, we see the spotlight of Charlie Daniels or the spotlight of, I don't know, is it Luke Bryan? Is it Tim McGraw? Is it Beyonce? Whatever spotlight hits you, or whatever reflection you catch from this lifestyle, I would want people to know that Charlie was human, that he was not without fault, and because I think that the youth today, and I watch the culture of the music business in general change. And again, with the advent of TV and social media, I was looking at social media this morning, and there's so much social media with cowboys now. You've got guys that were leather makers that I met that lived 80 miles from a road. Yeah. And so the only people that ever saw their leather work were the people that lived within a 50-mile area. Now my old cowboy buddies are braiding reins for movie stars, and their world has grown and gotten big. And I think that what we see on social media, that we think that everybody's life is perfect, and everybody's life, they live in the most beautiful homes and the most beautiful women.
It's performative. Everything is performative.
Yeah. And
duck lips and selfies.
And everybody needs to know that life is there, and which brings you to being human. Yeah. And it's what you do with that when you get stripped down, when you strip it all down and you have to build it back. It's the greatest journey in life. It has been for me.
There's this thought leader in Scotland named Ian McGilchrist, and he talks about this, and in a very, I mean, the guy's brilliant, right? Mm-hmm. But really what he talks about is what you just said, is the danger in the world that we live in today is that because of, these things, we live in he calls it a represented reality. It's not the natural world. It's a represented reality with filters and levers in it that are rigged. They're rigged to tap into our primal drivers in ways that drive us toward an attention-based economy, right? To foment in-group and out-group behavior on fear and anger around, stuff that is put into LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever to actually divide us by design, like architecturally. And what he talks about is that we have so immersed in that represented realm that we no longer have a relationship with the natural world and our humanity.
I saw a pastor on TV, and I'm not going to mention any names, but he used the term of reframing.
Yeah.
And that's what, when the doctor told me when my nerve block wore off, that I was going to have excruciating pain.
Yeah.
And what my wife told me is that at that point in time when it happened, and it happened 12 hours after my surgery, and when all the blood drained from the top of my head to the bottom, when that pain hit from my injury, and I was saying everything wrong, I was cussing, I was fighting to find some relief. And she grabbed me by the chin and she said, "You need to reframe this and reframe this pain. Let's figure out, it's going to go away. You're at the tip of the spear with your pain. Reframe it." And I think that in the opposite way, that's what social media does to us. It reframes real life into thinking my life is less than, his life is great. I want to be him. I want to be her. I want to have that house. I want to have that ranch. I see the most beautiful pictures of ranches.
Yeah.
But my example is that I've seen the bunkhouse at that ranch, and it ain't
all that.
Those mountains are not there.
Yeah.
They are, but they're 500 miles. They're reframed.
Yeah.
It's a reframed deal.
Yeah.
And so that pain, and that's what my journey has been, and certainly not a soldier, and I've not seen the pain either emotionally or physically that you guys have, but I've had my share of pain.
But we don't have the market cornered on pain and trauma either.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to tell people all the time, is that is a universal reality.
Yeah.
It's not reserved for the military or first responders. And just listening to what your wife did in that moment, I think it's probably a safe thing to say that you and I both married up.
Big time. But it took me a while. I had to, because I'm a work in progress with my faith, and I had to really dig deep and ask the God of my understanding, give me a positive in this. You got to show me something, because I'm dying right now.
Right.
I'm crying, I'm screaming, and I'm wanting to sell out. Yeah. And I had to find what the reframe was, and the reframe is that next week I'm going to get my cast off. Hopefully, and I'll turn 75 years old the same day, and so I've reframed it to where, God, I made it through a lot, and now I have another run at being. I don't have another run. I learned something from it.
Yeah.
And it was a cowboy that told me, you need to let the cowboys do the work. You need to sit on your horse in the corral and watch them do it.
Just tell us at 74 years old how you broke that ankle.
At 74, I was doing my work that I've done every spring for probably 40 years, and that's to work my calves and my cattle and doctor them. And had what we call a maverick bull, a bull that was missed last year, and so he has to have his proper work done on him and doctoring, and ultimately got kicked. And so a doctor put it in perspective for me the other day. He said, think about, a normal man, 150 pounds, 180 pounds, 200 pounds. We have strong legs. Think about a 500-pound animal and the strength in those legs. And I took a direct hit. It wasn't a mortar, but it
probably felt like
it felt like it because it was so powerful that it didn't hurt.
Yeah.
But I got my ankle. I'm 19 screws, 3 plates, 5.5 hour surgery, and I'm 6 weeks out, and I'm still hobbling around like an old man.
Not at all. You and Charlie founded a really special organization, the Journey Home Project. And can you talk a little bit about that and the origins of that and where it is today?
Well, and it's for me, it's my favorite story is that what I thought I had to. I can look back now and reframe my life. I didn't get to serve. I'm a civilian, and I didn't get to serve. But because I got my job with Charlie and because he was such a great patriot, that I've literally, that's one thing I can go nose to nose with military guys with is how many military bases you've been on. I've worked, literally during the late 70s and 80s and 90s, we worked every military base in the world. We did, we worked with boutique agency that took us to the bases. We worked with USO, but we entertained all over the world. And ultimately, when the trade towers came down and 9/11 happened, Charlie wanted to be one of the first artists to go downrange in Iraq. And that's where the gift earlier came from in 2005. We actually went in 2004. In 2005, we went back immediately. And so we started not only, and what the great thing with Charlie was, because he's always been a father figure as we went back in earlier times. Charlie was always a father figure. So here's a guy that has been everywhere, has probably been on, if Charlie was talking to you today and you said, here are the places I've been stationed, he could tell you something about every one of those military bases. But what he did is that when you have a kid in Iraq, and the first time in 2004 when we were in Arif John, before we even went to Iraq, our first night was in Arif John and Kuwait, and there were 5,000 soldiers in the audience. And he told them that night, he said, if you want to stay around, I'd love to shake your hand or I'll sign an autograph for you or we'll just talk. But I'll stay here as long as you want to. Well, we were there till 0400 the next morning because nobody wanted to leave,
of course.
But when a kid comes up and says, Charlie, because that was Charlie's line, where are you from? Where are you out of? Where are you from? And the kid would say, I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. Charlie would say, I love that barbecue place that's 2 blocks down from 9th and Nebraska Avenue.
Human connection.
And then, so this kid now not only feels that an entertainer came to see him, but he actually told me about my hood. And that started galvanizing those connections. Those trust connection. And so as we started to see some of those kids come back with amputees and injured, lifelong injuries, obviously, Charlie was a target for the military to raise money and to bring awareness. So everybody jumped on the bandwagon, education, everything. We're going to support our veterans. And Charlie was the target. So after, 6 or 7 years of raising money for a lot of other organizations.
This is during the global war on terror.
Yes. This is beginning. In,
like 04, 05.
04, 05 and on through.
Right.
We started to so you got 5 or 6 years into foundation starting, and we're raising money for this, we're raising money for that, and we were getting bombarded. If we would have done, and Charlie didn't know how to say no, so if we would have done all the things that were asked of us, we would have never gotten to work and make a living.
Right.
So I sat down with Charlie one time. I said, I have an idea. If we start our own foundation, and some of the foundations had hit bumps in the road. and with their spending.
Yeah.
And we said, if we're going to raise money in your name, and then we'll have a cause of our own. So it helps us give a soft landing to someone that approaches us. We can say, we can't raise money for you, but we're going to raise money and come back and see us, and we will give some money back to you.
Love that.
And so we came up with that concept. And so if we were going to raise it in his name and we were going to have an accountability of that money, we started our own foundation. And the great line that I still live by, and it's why as soon as I can get well, I got some money to give away.
Yeah.
But it's because Charlie told me, it's not your money, give it away. And I have a board now that wants to be business and smart and hold on to money, but that voice is sitting on my shoulder saying, it is not your money. People did not give that money to you to sit on.
And what are some of the things now, David, that y'all are doing? Because I want to hit this real quick. Is you and I have talked about this, but we're in a different place. You know, where we were in the global war on terror. I mean, even 2018, 2019, it was starting to change dramatically. But now, Iraq is basically done. Afghanistan ended terribly, if I'm being candid. Mm-hmm. And we find ourselves in a very, very new place, I think, in the sense that you have a whole generation of warfighters that are still on the journey home, in different places. We've got I think we're and I testified to Congress on this, I think we're on the front end of a tsunami of veteran mental health, particularly from the global war on terror generation, because I think we just turned the page on those guys like a ServPro commercial, like it never even happened. And I think it's going to be organizations like yours and like mine that, and these aren't victims. Like, these are some of the most high-performing people on the planet, but there is a way to come home and there's a way not to come home. And I feel like the way that the global war on terror ended, we just turned the page, and there's so much work still to be done. What are you seeing in that regard? Am I off? And if in either way, what are you guys doing about it?
Well, I think you hit it on the head, and I think you're 100% right. I think that war's not a front page. Our war, the 20-year war, is not front page news. What I do see is that not only there was a model designed for 2004, 5, 6, 8, 10 returnees. Education. Can we get them a job?
Right.
Let's get them. Let's get them a job.
Vet.
Yeah, hire a vet.
Ticks for vets.
Yeah, all of that, and I think that model is already broken.
Yeah.
And the other thing, the aspect that I believe, and I think for Journey Home Project, we're in a deep discussion right now, because I think it's generational now.
Yeah.
It's dominoing into kids. Yeah. We've got kids that have seen parents take their own life.
Yeah.
So it's becoming more complex. It's going generational. And then we still got the guys that we missed that wanted to stay in the fight a few more years, that wanted to come out and be contractors for a few more years. Yeah. And now they're in their 40s. I've got a buddy. My example is that when I first started this, there were 6 veterans that I walked the walk with at David Lipscomb College. One of them's a DEA agent now, got his own jet. He's like Miami Vice. I've got a guy that's a professor. I've got these guys, but I've got one guy that's in Ukraine fighting.
Yeah.
Now we need to get him out. He's in his late 40s. We need to get him off the battlefield.
100%.
We need to get him back in here.
Yeah.
And so that's, for me, I think that's what we're missing. And I think for me, you can see I get passionate about this.
Yeah.
I think that this deal of I think we've built a model that's not current. I think there's different needs. There's different.
And it's still operating like they're still in the global war on terror.
Yeah.
And the reality is the context has changed. And I mean, you've seen Last Out, Elegy of a Green Beret. Yeah. You've seen, and we've talked about storytelling and all of this. I guess my question to you is, what are your thoughts on like the the importance of storytelling and telling this story and narrative as we figure this out.
Storytelling is the basis of my life. It's now at my age, the only thing I have left is that I hadn't written a book yet, so I'm going to start my storytelling soon. But I think that storytelling is our country was based on storytelling. It's how we remember our ancestors, but it's also how we are reminded of our failures.
Yeah.
And I think one of the great failures is what we've done to our veterans, obviously, from as far back as you want to go. But obviously, it really came out in Vietnam. Now, I think it's almost it's, what is the word am I looking for? It's almost a pandemic. In the sense that there are so many guys, and I've got guys that have reintegrated back into what they consider civilian life. I've got a guy that's one of the most personable, wonderful guys in the world that would be, that have the skills of working with people and stuff. And he's working on a ranch somewhere out in the middle of Wyoming, and he's 100 miles from nowhere. And none of those natural skills that he has, and that's just I'm glad that he's where he wanted to be, but I don't think it's where he wanted to be. It's a place where he could go isolate. I think there's a secret sickness, so to speak.
I do too. And I also worry that, our country's in trouble. I mean, I really do. I think our country's in trouble. I don't care which party's in charge. I'm underwhelmed by all of them, frankly. But I look at our veteran population. And I'm so enamored with, think about the Vietnam War guys. I can't tell you how many of those guys, David, were at the airports in 2005 when we came home to greet us because they didn't ever want that to happen to us, what happened to them. How many of my buddies that are they have solved more human problems, the kind of problems that would make a diplomat spit up a hairball, these guys solved with, relative ease, and we need them. Like, to me, we need these guys and girls back in the game. We need the military families leading us here at home. That's what I think about is what amazing human capital we cultivated in this 20-year war, and these guys showed up again and again and again, deployment after deployment. And like you said, so many of them are self-isolating because it's not that they are victims or they can't. They look at it and they go, "Yeah, I don't think so. I choose not to participate in that because that goes against everything I believe in. So I'll just be on the ranch if you need me." And to me, that is beyond tragic.
It's we can treat what we see or what we diagnose. What is it that we're not seeing and what we're not diagnosing that is there? That's going to come. It's going to come back. It's going to come back. Whether it's 2 years from now, next week.
Yeah.
What is it that we're missing?
And it's something
we
big.
know that it's a lot.
It's a lot.
And nobody wants to talk about it.
No one wants to talk about it, and we're still configured for the global war on terror with these 501c3s and the way we're handling it. And I think there's a national conversation that has to happen around this.
Yep.
You and I will certainly continue to hammer away at that. What your relationship with the SF community, the Special Forces community, is also pretty astounding. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, obviously, through the years, I got to meet the guys that we all, everybody. It's, I guess the SEALs made it all famous with everything. But no, I joke about that, and I'm not picking on them. It's Green Berets. It's John Wayne. It's the whole charismatic deal, and it is the tip of the spear for whatever branch of service it is. And I just happened to meet a few of the guys. Actually, it was based out of when I started going to Iraq with Charlie. Yeah. I got kind of wadded up in a little bit of the adrenaline as a civilian. Obviously, I've told my past. So, here I'm in Iraq, and somebody needs somebody else to go back again on a film project or another band tour, I'm in. Yeah. So I kept going back. And so through all of that, I ended up as somewhat of a closet filmmaker myself.
Okay.
And I did a documentary for a country music network. And it was, and they wanted a non-musical. Everything was musical. We mentioned Craig Morgan earlier. That's how I met Craig. I was on a film project in Iraq with him and Chris Young. And they came to me and said, "You've been to Iraq a bunch. Will you make us a project that's non-musical, that's not based around a country music artist?" So I found a guy named Scooter Schroeder, who was a Chief Warrant Officer, 5th Group Green Beret, and he had lost both of his legs. And so what I did was try to find 2 different scenarios of damaged men.
Yeah.
And Scott was, as I said, a Chief Warrant Officer. Last day, pressure plate, loses his legs.
Last day of his tour?
Yep. And then I find a kid that's 22-year-old Marine that makes a bad call. 9 guys die. They all have families. He's single. He has so much survivor guilt. So I built a documentary around that for this network, and it was called The Journey Home, A Soldier Story. So when Charlie and I started the foundation, he said we needed a name for it. Let's call it the same thing as your film was.
Wow. Talk about storytelling having an effect, huh?
And so, and storytelling is where I started.
Yeah.
And it's where I ended up.
What are your thoughts on a lot of, when we toured the play, and even now, and Craig and I talked about this too, veterans in the arts. I'm seeing more and more of that, whether it's performing arts, whether it's fine arts, writing, What are your thoughts on that? Because you've been around the arts your entire life. You've been around the industry. You've been around the veteran population for a better part of your adult life, certainly the latter part. What are your thoughts on that as a modality and as a maybe something, that the country needs? I don't know. What are your thoughts on veterans moving into arts in general?
I think we come full circle in the sense that when as I told you about my early life on 3448 Woodrow Avenue, I didn't know that whatever talent I had or whatever, I didn't know where I was going to end up, but I think I've tried to utilize the talents God gave me.
Yeah.
How many creative talents are buried in a Green Beret that got diverted from him being able to go on with life like me, and grow whatever my artistic deal was. How much of that was stifled into a Green Beret or a SEAL or a Ranger or just a grunt, just a military guy? Maybe the guy worked in an admin. Doesn't matter to Charlie and I.
Yeah.
But what got stifled by the war, and then the collateral damage of the war, and if you weren't fighting, you could have spent your time in Fort Drum.
Yeah.
But you were gone from home.
Yeah.
And that brought emotional closure. I mean, you went inside.
Yeah.
And so how much talent is lying just beneath the surface in the vets that can come out and speak and perform? And there's cowboy poetry. It's one of the greatest things in the world is go to a cowboy poetry gathering. These are guys that
you
are
were
so
telling me that.
themselves.
I want to check that out sometime.
Yeah, and God gave us all an artistic piece. So think about all the guys that you've served with.
And it's not like it's new, right? Look at Shakespeare and Homer.
Right.
This is as old as warfare.
Yeah.
No, that's a great point.
But there's nobody that's helping to enhance that.
No.
And we don't realize that can be as curing and healing as let me look at you through a microscope.
I agree. On the tour itself, I think I've been handed 5 scripts. All of our intermission music now is music that was written, sung, and produced by veterans. And it was all unsolicited. It was just given to me on the road in these talkbacks. And I know that's a fraction of what's out there.
It causes me to to finish the question that you ask about the platforms and how it's changing is so that's why for us at Journey Home Project, we're looking at, our songwriting programs or organic programs are very successful. And man, these guys are pouring their hearts out, and they've got this artistic ability and thought process of putting words with rhyme and music. And then the equine therapy programs, the organic programs, which would be going on stage and doing a play like you're doing. It's an organic program where you really reach deep and or have the opportunity to bring that out.
Yeah.
And guys getting on horses, it brings their childhood memories. It allows this creativity to manifest.
It's like there's a realignment.
Yeah.
Reframing.
Reframing.
And this is something that Craig and I talked about too, and I just want to clarify because we were talking about veterans in the industry, in the music industry. And I think sometimes because you see veterans, first responders, military family members that have real, talent, others are picking it up for the first time. And there is this feeling of, okay, well, I'm not going to write a play because, the industry demands this, and this. I've never been trained in it. And that is what I thought at first. But then what I started to realize, and some mentors helped me realize this, was it has nothing to do with that. What it has to do in this sense is in a modality of expressing a story that's working its way out. And it's not about anything but the story. Right? Don't worry about the industry. Don't worry about anything except the full available expression of what you just said is simmering below the surface. Taking it from, as my buddy Bo Eason, former NFL player, says, taking that TNT that's inside us and putting it out into the world in something positive, and then let it be clunky, let it be ugly, and then just rep the hell out of it and see what happens.
Yeah, and it serves two purposes. You entertain people, you educate people, and then you are healing the soldier himself. So it's
you might heal yourself in the process, which is what you're saying.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, and when we first did the play, we put 28,000 miles on a U-Haul van, and we had no idea what we're doing.
Been there, done that.
Last question for you, and it's an important one because we've talked a lot about struggle. We've talked a lot about storytelling and repurposing struggle, the generosity of scars. Every year, y'all recognize amazing Americans at your gathering, and I cannot wait to get to one of them. But most recently, you recognized an amazing American, Bernie Carrick, a dear friend of yours. And, I would just be remiss, I think, because you introduced us. Yeah. Shortly after we talked, and I had the honor to talk to him several times. And, he was a busy guy, and he took the time to really listen to me about concerns I had about national security, and he made phone calls, and he really stepped in a very unbelievable way to hear me out and not just like placate me, but actually take some definitive action that was significant. And, we recently lost him, and I know that was a hard lick for you, and I know it still is, but I just wonder if maybe as we close this out, you could share with us in the context of that, if you want to talk about him, because I think the world needs to know about him, but also just the importance of taking the hard times and the struggle and what we can do with them for better days.
Bernie is for me, I can't even begin to share what an impact he had on Journey Home Project.
Yeah.
He loved Charlie. We met him years ago raising money for the Dietz Foundation, for the Danny Dietz Foundation. But Bernie, I would say, Bernie's the Paul Harvey story of the era that we've come through, the 20-year war. Everybody needs to know the rest of the story. Bernie was a tough guy. Bernie grew up in the toughest part of Patterson, New Jersey, in the time period he grew up. It was the toughest neighborhood in the country. And we all know him as the police commissioner standing on the pile at 9/11. It was also, it was the most tragic time in this country, but also a great time of unity and we have those images of him standing with Bush and Giuliani. But also we have those images that politics pasted on Bernie. We need to take Paul Harvey's advice and see the rest of the story. This guy did stuff, I mean, not only with the military, but with drug. I mean, he cleaned up New York. Yeah. Task force drug agent. And then you take all of those titles away from him. He was just a good human being. Yeah. Man, he loved Journey Home Project. I know he loved me. I loved him. He was a character. We're not creating people like Bernie. Yeah. Bernie's one of those characters. He's folklore. He's folklore material. Yeah. This guy's a legend, and I'm sorry that we're in a time in our lives when this is all going to blow by, and it's as cowboys say, he'll disappear into the sage. Yeah. And we need to recognize guys like Bernie. I miss him. I already miss him. I love Bernie Carrick, and he's, for whatever anybody wants to paste on him of any Jesus, let's look around at the glass houses. Let's not throw stones at Bernie. Yeah. He was a great patriot, great American, and we're gonna miss him. Yeah. What do you hope 15 years after you leave this world? My dad always talks about leaving tracks, and he's in the twilight of his life right now. I'm heading to see him as soon as you and I are done talking, and he doesn't have much longer, but he always talked about leaving his tracks on this earth. And, for him, for example, restoring the American chestnut tree is a big, deep set of tracks, fighting wildland fire out in California, teaching his guys not to strut, those are the things that he hopes 15 years from now, 20 years from after the time he's gone will be remembered. What do you hope people remember about David Corlew and as a man, but also with you and Charlie? What are the tracks you hope people remember about you? I think that for me personally, I don't know that I've done anything that's worthy. I've probably made some footprints. I don't know how deep of a rut I made, as far as tracks are concerned. But I'd like for people, I do believe this with all my heart, that when we die, there's only two things that can happen. People can say he was a good guy or he was a lousy guy, and I hope that they'll say that I was fair, even in a fight. I tried to fight fair. Yeah. And then I hope that I gave back more than I took. That's all. Well, I can tell you that you did, my friend, and you continue to do so. So I appreciate you being here with us, David. I hope you heal up quick. Now, when you write the book, you're going to have to come back on. I'm going to. All right, buddy. All right. I don't know if I'll make it back here. If you invite me, I'd love to come back. And I'm honored, and we spent the whole time talking about me and my life. But I just want to tell you, from the standpoint of me and the military and what little part I've played in trying to support the military, to have gotten a return call or a return message from Scott Mann, you're up on the list, and I'm honored by our new friendship, and I hope that we do some impactful things together that change a life. 100%. All right, Roger. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you, man. Take care. And thanks to everybody for watching. Really, really glad to have you in here. Means a lot. I hope you'll share the podcast with people that could use it, that need to see it. Subscribe. Give us a rating. That would be awesome. But more importantly, go out in the world, make a human connection, tell your story, because the world needs to hear it. Thanks for what you do, and we'll see you on the rooftop.